The new trials of the week are here, and this week we have a pretty interesting mix of trials. We have one trial that can give up to 45,000 points, another one that can reach almost 40,000 points, and of course we have the usual trial where the score looks great on paper, but the amount of farming required makes you question whether it's actually worth doing. And there is one thing I definitely would not ignore this week: the Flyswatter perk. If you have it unlocked, it can make one trial significantly easier by allowing you to kill wasps with a single hit, which means you need to bring less ammunition for that trial. And that extra inventory space can be used for more Snitch Scanners. So let's go through all 5 trials, talk about the best maps, strategies, current scores, and at the end I will rank them based on score versus time and farming investment. Let's get into it. Let's start with loot arc enemies. This trial is actually pretty straightforward because every arc enemy gives the same amount of points. That means you don't really want to spend a lot of time fighting a single arc enemy. Instead, you want to kill as many small enemies as possible and keep moving. For solo players, my preferred setup is Stella Montis during the night raid. You can basically use the same route we would use for a typical tick run while making sure to clear Seed Vault every 3 to 4 minutes. The main targets here are ticks, pops, and fireballs, because they are quick to kill and you can keep rotating through the map. As an alternative, there is another strategy if you're playing close scrutiny. In that case, Blue Gate and Buried City are probably the best options because the distances between the assessor spawns are relatively short, and this is where things get a little bit more interesting. Surveyors are extremely good targets for this trial. With a Jupiter, you can kill Surveyors with just 2 shots, and every individual part that the Surveyor drops counts separately towards this trial. The same applies to individual parts dropped by Vaporizers or Rocketeers. So you're not just getting points by the parts that are dropped by the arc you kill, but you're also getting additional progress from the individual looting pieces from Surveyors. And whenever you have some downtime, you can also kill smaller flying arc like Wasps, Hornets, and Comets. The current max score is around 30,000 points, so overall this is one of the trials this week that doesn't require a huge amount of preparation, which makes it quite attractive. Just a quick reminder of the routes. For the ticks, I would clear Seed Vault. Make sure to clear it every 3 to 4 minutes. From Seed Vault, you want to go through Cultural Archives. There are 2 to 3 spots in Cultural where ticks can spawn. Go through Business Center, clear ticks, pops, and fireballs in there. Lobby. The moment you come out of lobby, on the opposite side, there are ticks that can spawn down here. You want to go from here, you want to go down to basically Lobby Metro. Clear the ticks and the fireballs in Lobby Metro. You also have the possibility of ticks spawning in the Western Tunnel. From there, you can go through Sandbox, kill the entire pops that are rolling around in Sandbox, and go back to Seed Vault. If this takes too long, just do it in 2 pieces. Do Cultural, Business, and Atrium first, and then go again and clear Sandbox, Lobby Metro, and Lobby, and come back to Seed Vault. You want to make sure that Seed Vault is cleared every 3 minutes, and also that you loot every single tick, pop, and fireball. If you want to try your luck in close scrutiny, as I said, either Blue Gate or Buried City, the strategies are basically the same. You want to kill Surveyors and everything that comes out of Assessors, and make sure that you loot every single part of them. If you want to tackle the trial this way, you do need Avengers lobbies, which means, so for us, Avengers lobbies are when you have a lot of people with Jupiters and Hawkcrackers and stuff like that killing the flying arc. If you have just 1 or 2 people doing this, it takes too long to kill the arc, therefore it takes too much time to recycle all that, and you won't get a high score. So if you have Avengers, you can do this. If not, you can reset. Next up, we have Destroy Wasps. And this one has one of the highest potential scores this week. We're currently looking to roughly 40 to 45,000 points. The best map is Blue Gate on the Locked Gate event, with Spaceport Hidden Bunker being a very good alternative. The reason we like these conditions is simple. You get an additional 10 minutes of extra raid time, and you're going to need that. The main strategy is to bring as many Snitch Scanners as you possibly can. Ideally, you want to enter the raid with an entire inventory full of them, and you should also kill every Wasp and Snitch you encounter naturally during the raid. And yes, Unfortunately, obviously, the wasps spawned by Snitch Scanners count as well. At the beginning of the raid, throw down 6 Snitch Scanners at once. This will spawn 12 wasps, and 1 wolf pack will kill all of them. After that, you can loot some light ammo from the dead wasps, which means you don't actually need to bring ammunition for your kettle or your Beretta. Those are the 2 weapons that I would recommend for this trial. Once you're safely positioned on top of the maintenance bunker on Blue Gate, you can start throwing another Snitch Scanner roughly every 30 seconds. And this is where the Flyswatter perk becomes extremely valuable and handy. With Flyswatter, you can kill spawned wasps with a single hit. That means you need significantly less ammunition, which gives you more inventory space for Snitch Scanner. And that's especially important because you already need to farm more than 20 stacks of Snitch Scanners before you even want to start the run. So while the score is extremely good, this is also one of the more time-consuming trials this week, simply because of the preparation you have to do. I would definitely suggest using Flyswatter if you have it available. If not, you can even consider respeccing for this. For the setup, bring a snap hook, as many Snitch Scanners as possible, and around 2 to 3 wolf packs, and a stack of barricades to make the position on top of the bunker a little safer. With a really good run, 40 to 45,000 points is currently possible. Let's take a look at the maps and where we would set up our run. As for Blue Gate, I would set up on the maintenance bunker on top of the tower. As I mentioned, just use the snap hook to get up the tower. Set up 3 barricades so you can LOS the wasp and also have protection from the other players. If you're lucky, you have the extraction right underneath you, so you can get out really easy in the last second. As for spaceport, I would set up probably on the concrete part of the launch towers. Be aware you are in the middle of the map, but you kind of need this position to also see the other spawning snitches. Another viable spot would be either the departure building, which is a little bit more open, but you have a lot of room to play with, or the south trench tower. The upside for the trench tower is that you have a lot of cover and still see a decent amount of the map. The third trial is open containers in the swamp, and once again, the name of the trial is slightly misleading. The best condition for this is Dam Battlegrounds on Electromagnetic Storm. The reason why we prefer EMS is that crashed probes and couriers also count towards the trial, giving you some additional points while you're moving through the area. And just like in the previous swamp trial, you should already know that a lot more of the map counts than what you would expect from the name. There are several locations outside the actual swamp that counts towards this trial. We have a complete map showing these locations available on Discord. There isn't really one perfect route for the trial. The important thing is to clear the entire relevant area while avoiding unnecessary backtracking. And because there is a lot of running involved, I would definitely bring plenty of stims, I'd say 20, and a snap hook and a couple of zip lines, probably a stack or 2. As always with these container trials, don't fully loot the containers. Just tap into them until the loot animation starts and the points appear on the left side of the screen. Fully looting everything will just waste time, and there are a lot of containers to go through. Also keep in mind what actually counts: crashed probes, couriers, and radar caches. Standing probes, the one landing from the sky, do not count. And there are some particularly weird locations here. For example, the Pale Apartments only partially counts, just half of it basically, as does water treatment and the controlled access zone. We'll show the exact locations in the full run because some of these are definitely not obvious from the trial description itself. The current max score is around 28,000 points, and compared to the Wasp trial, this one has one big advantage. You don't need to spend hours farming special materials before you can even attempt. All right, let's check the map out real quick to see exactly what counts and which area you want to loot. Okay, so I will show you just roughly how this area looks like, because there are a couple of things that you want to keep in the back of your head. For example, the Pale Apartments, the southwestern building of the Pale Apartments counts partially. If we go down towards the swamp outpost, everything in here counts. This small building over here where the hatch is counts towards the trial as well. Everything around this building, there are breachable boxes, there are cars, there can be electrical boxes on walls, there are are lockers inside the building, everything in here counts. Everything around this small path counts. Water treatment counts just partially. The one part that is basically just the power generation part that is basically facing the swamp. You have one weird corner here that doesn't count towards the trial. Everything else counts. Same up here. Everything around the broken buildings count. Crashed probes, couriers, cars, everything. From here, half of the controlled access zone counts. There is a room with lockers that counts towards this trial, and also the buildings on top of controlled access zone. I've unfortunately forgot those in my full run. It is what it is. We gotta rerun it. But yeah, this is roughly what you're looking at. This is what you want to loot. As I said, a more detailed map with every single loot spot is in the Discord. Now we get to the trial that I'm probably the least excited about this week. Damage arc enemies using pop triggers. Actually, I'm not excited about the Wasps either, just because of the Snitch Scanners, but it is what it is. The best strategy at the moment is to play damn Battlegrounds during the Matriarch. The idea is to get inside the Matriarch and then use the pop triggers from inside, detonating them directly on the core. The core is the ideal target because there is no armor there, so you can deal the full amount of damage. You want to place the pop trigger on the lower part of the Matriarch's interior. Unfortunately, there isn't some magical trick that guarantees perfect hits. The Matriarch moves around quite randomly, so there is definitely some RNG involved. For this strategy, I'd bring an equalizer, and there is a little preparation requirement here. For this strategy, I would bring an equalizer to open up the Matriarch by shooting the one corner. The upside of the equalizer is it comes preloaded if you have it equipped in your hands when you join the raid, which means you don't need ammunition for it. And there is a little preparation requirement here. For a serious run, you're looking at roughly 24 to 27 stacks of pop triggers. And unfortunately, those don't just magically appear in your inventory. You need to farm them from pops. The best place I found for me is to farm them on Stella Montis. So while the current max score is around 30,000 points, you have to ask yourself whether spending all that time farming pop triggers is actually worth it. And for me, that's the biggest downside of this trial. It's not particularly difficult or challenging mechanically. It's just a lot of preparation for a score that isn't dramatically higher than some of the much easier trials this week. And finally, we have damage arc using medium ammo. For this one, I'd again look towards the Matriarch. You can play this either on damn Battlegrounds or on Bluegate, both during the Matriarch condition. Personally, I think Bluegate might actually be the better option here, because once the Matriarch is dead, the remaining arc enemies down in the tunnels are much more compact, making it easier to farm additional damage. The first thing you want to do is, just as the other trial, get inside the Matriarch and deal as much damage to the core as possible. For the Matriarch itself, the best weapon is the Venator 4. The reason is simply the relationship between damage and ammunition efficiency. I've done this trial with a Torrente 4 and went through a lot of ammo, therefore ran out of ammo towards the end of the raid. That wouldn't have happened with the Venator. Once the Matriarch is dead, switch over to the Renegade. I would bring 2 for that and start farming the remaining arc on the map. That is currently the most efficient setup I found for this trial. The idea is basically to fill your entire inventory with medium ammo, go into the raid prepared to burn through all of it. And that's exactly why this trial is a little deceptive. The current max score is around 38,000 points, which sounds very good, but getting there requires a huge amount of ammunition. So again, we're not looking at the maximum score, we're looking at how much work do I have to put in to actually get that score. So how would I rank the trials this week? And this time I'm not ranking them purely by maximum score. I'm looking at the combination of score, difficulty, preparation, and especially farming time. Number 5 is damage arc using pop triggers. Around 30,000 points is possible, but you need roughly 24 to 27 stacks of pop triggers, and that's a lot of farming for a relatively average score. On number 4, we have damage arc using medium ammo. The score is much better, around 38,000. But you need a huge amount of ammunition. If you're already stocked up, it's definitely worth considering. But if you have to farm all the mats for the ammunition first, the time investment becomes a little bit higher. Number 3 is loot arc enemies. Around 30,000 points possible. And more important, you don't need to spend hours farming specific consumables before attempting it. The Stella Montis Knight strategy is straightforward, and the strategy naturally fits into normal arc killing rotations. Number 2 is open containers in the swamp. Around 28,000 is possible, and while there is a lot of running involved, there isn't a massive preparation requirement. Once you understand what areas actually count, it's mostly about having a good spawn and route, avoiding backtrack. And finally, number 1, Destroy Wasps. Now, this one comes with a small controversy, I'd say. The potential score is the highest at around 40 to 45,000 points. And with Flyswatter, the actual run becomes much easier. But you need 20 plus stacks of Snitch Scanners. So if we're ranking purely by score, this is number 1. If we're ranking purely by time investment, including preparation, it becomes one of the worst. And that's probably the biggest theme of this week's trials. Don't just look at the number on the leaderboard, look at how much time you're actually spending to get there. Because this is not the final week of the season, and if you want to maintain your Cantina rank, then yes, you have to grind every single trial. But if you are on your way to Cantina, don't burn yourself out. There is no need to try hard every single trial. We will be doing the full runs of these trials live on twitch.tv/VannyP again, and we'll upload the best runs to YouTube afterwards. The swamp map is already available on the Discord, and we will show the important locations and strategies in the full runs. And if you're going for Cantina Legend, hopefully a better idea and understanding of which trials are actually worth prioritizing and which ones might not be worth the farming time. Good luck with your trials, and I'll see you in the next one.